Today, I'm going to talk about the challenges and limitations of color in art therapy. I will divide it into the following three parts, which are individual difference and color perceptions, potential misunderstandings of color use, and summary and suggestions. First, let's talk about individual difference in color perception. The influence of cultural background. Cultures have very different interpretation of color. For example, black symbolizes death and bad luck in many Asian cultures, but in the Western culture, it often represents respect, majesty, and even a necessity for formal occasions. Red is seen as a festive color in Eastern culture, while in some Western countries it may symbolize warning and passions. Therefore, in color therapy, we must be wary of the misunderstanding that cultural difference can bring the interpreting a patient's choice of color through the lens of one's own color culture can lead to the wrong conclusions. Second, the role of personal experience. In addition to the cultural background, each person's experience also profoundly affects their perception of color. One patient was particularly sensitive to red and even uneasy because he had experienced an accident involving a fire, while another patient is an artist, sees blue as a source of inner peace and inspiration. This difference suggests that we need to focus on each patient's unique experience and not simply one-size-fits-all about the symbolization of color. Next one, let's talk about some case studies. Patients from the Eastern cultures may use red to express excitement because in their culture, red is closely associated with festivity and energy. Patients which is from the Western culture, on the other hand, may be more inclined to use yellow to express similar emotions, as they believe that yellow represents sunshine, vitality, and happiness. Through these cases, we can see that individual difference deeply affects the patient's understanding of color, which is also a point that therapists need to pay special attention to in their work. Next, let's discuss some of the potential pitfalls in color therapy and how to avoid them. First of all, the common misconceptions. Number one, overinterpreting the meaning of colors. For example, some therapists may think that red must represent anger and blue must represent depression. Such a singular interpretation ignores the patient's unique cultural background and personal experience. Second, ignoring individuals' difference in treatment, ignoring the patient's subjective interpretation of color and simply applying a fixed theory may be misunderstood. Third, rely entirely on color for diagnosis. Relying only on color without considering other cues such as the patient's verbal feedback, behavioral performance, and etc. can easily lead to bias and misjudgment. The second, let's talk about the ways to avoid pitfalls. So how do we avoid these pitfalls? First, The multi-channel comprehensive judgment. During treatment, we need to focus not only on the colors used by the patients, but also on their verbal feedback, behavioral performance, and emotional states. Second, focus on communication with patients. Consider asking the patients directly, why did you choose this color? What does it mean to you? This gives a better understanding of their unique interpretation of color. Third, keep learning and improving. As therapists, we need to continue to learn about the interpretation of color in different cultures, master new case studies, and constantly improve our sensitivity and professional skills to individual difference. In concluding this information, I would like to emphasize a few points again. First, individual differences have a profound impact on color perception. Therapists must understand the patient's cultural background and personal experience and avoid interpreting the patient's color choices from their own perspective. Secondly, in treatment, we should be alert to potential misunderstanding in the use of colors and avoid single interpretation or relying solely on colors to judge the psychological state. Finally, through communication, observation, and learning, we can gain a more complete understanding of the patient's emotional world, which in turn can provide more effective assistance. And that's it for today. Thank you for watching. And in the next chapter, I will bring you the future research direction of color and emotions.